Just weeks before the opening ceremony of the London Olympics, U.S. politicians are in a frenzy over revelations that the U.S. Olympic team uniforms for the opening ceremony were manufactured in China. A furious Senate Majority Leader, Harry Reid, said the Olympic Committee should be ashamed and embarrassed, and rather theatrically called for the offending berets and jackets to be burnt in a huge bonfire. Needless to say, a uniform bonfire is highly unlikely, but the public slapdown from Reid and other politicians has prompted apologies from Ralph Lauren, the uniform's designer, and promises that all future uniforms will be made in the United States of America. The issue, of course, is that with the U.S. unemployment rate over 8%, lawmakers would like to see these kinds of manufacturing jobs going to their constituents. Made-in-China goods are, of course, omnipresent in American malls, and this is certainly not the first time U.S. team uniforms were produced abroad. But these are politically sensitive times. Meanwhile, a spokesperson for the U.S. Olympic Committee had a different take, calling the outrage over the uniforms nonsense. He said that unlike most Olympic teams, the U.S. team is privately funded and gets no government help. And he insisted the committee is grateful for the donations from Ralph Lauren, an American company. So what do Chinese net users make of the uproar? How do they feel about the calls to torch the fruit of their countrymen's labor? Let's go to the newsroom right now where Julia Liu is standing by. All right, Julia, so the news has gotten a lot of play in the Chinese media. So what are the initial reactions of net users here in China?
Well, from what I've found, most net users think that the U.S. lawmakers are really overreacting to the whole situation. You'll see a lot of comments like this one from Sohu.com. I think it's hilarious. They are just clothes. If they really don't like them, then they can go to the opening ceremony naked. And it seems that this poster, Gu Rongxin from Weibo.com, also has a similar take. He says, if I remember correctly, about 90% of the clothes Americans wear these days are made in China. If the complainers think it is not right for the athletes to wear these kinds of clothes, then what are they going to wear? And this poster on QQ.com wants to draw a line between sports and politics, saying, in my view, the Olympics is just an athletic competition, and things shouldn't be any different for it. We also have this poster, 快乐的老头 from Sohu.com, who has this to say. It seems that in the U.S., the politics is king. In earlier times, the U.S. criticized our country and said that politics controlled too much of life here. But look at this case, they are doing the exact same thing. Finally, let's look at this comment from Zhao Gao Yisheng, who sees things much differently, saying, personally, I wish Chinese people have such a strong sense of national consciousness. Companies here should try hard to produce something that will really lead the world and make us feel proud. I think that's what we should take away from this.
All right, as we mentioned before, this certainly isn't the first time that the Olympic uniforms have been made in another country. So what do net users have to say about the reason why there's so much shock and horror this time around at the revelations that these were made in China?
Well, about this question, the majority of users point to the recession in the United States. This user on Weibo.com is one of them, saying, not only this case, but many earlier examples have shown that whenever a country falls on hard economic times, xenophobia will start to show itself. And this poster from Sohu.com is thinking along similar lines. He says, to be honest, the cost of producing these clothes in America will be several times of the price given by Chinese companies. And that's the reason why the U.S. Olympic Committee chose to have the clothes made in China. In my opinion, if the U.S. really want to solve its economic problems, they should look in the mirror rather than blaming foreign goods. A lot of net users also brought up the upcoming elections. Now, here's what one poster has to say. If you ask someone who really understands economics, they'll tell you that made in China doesn't mean China will get the full profit. And to be honest, I don't think many people believe that the Chinese manufacturing industry has really begun to replace the U.S. In my view, the real reason behind such complaints is the upcoming election. American politicians are just pandering for votes.
Right. Let's turn quickly to another problem that we discussed recently on the show. Over the past couple of years, we've seen many Chinese factories, especially manufacturers, have sort of seen their contracts dry up as manufacturers move to even lower cost countries, often to the south of China. So how do net users see this question of the Olympic uniforms in the bigger context of the Chinese economy's development over the next few years?
Well, in fact, after the case was reported by the Chinese media, many net users have pointed out that it reflects the grim reality these Chinese manufacturing factories are facing. At the same time that Americans are complaining about Chinese stealing American jobs, those same jobs are leaving China for other countries. A lot of net users say the only way forward is for Chinese firms to upgrade their products. This poster, Liu Daocai from Sina.com, is one of them, saying, I think for most small Chinese manufacturing companies, if they want to get out from under the thumb of foreign competition, they should upgrade the quality of their products first, and at the same time focus on building recognizable name brands. I think that's the only way out. And finally, this poster from China News Daily has similar worries, saying, this time, since there are only a few days before the opening ceremony, they didn't have enough time to change the clothes. But I'm afraid next time, if something similar happens, the result could be much worse. If Chinese companies don't want to lose out in the future, they should try hard to move up the industrial value chain.
All right, thanks for that, Julia. And that was China Take researcher Julia Liu with online reaction to the Olympic uniform scandal in the U.S. Next on China Take, some of the top trending phrases on China's most popular search engines. We're going to take a look at what has Chinese net users curious.